Hello, I'm Greg Harrison with the USDA Market News Service here in St. Joe, Missouri with your National Feeder Cattle Summary this week. Well, after a long holiday weekend and a very unsettling and volatile 3 weeks of markets that we've seen here, Labor Day had many of our major markets closed on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards was closed, Joplin Regional Stockyards was closed, Sioux Falls and a number of markets throughout the Midwest and Southeast were all closed on Monday. Tuesday, a number of auctions had very light receipts. So looking at our feeder cattle market this week, it's really on a lighter test. Yearlings traded mostly steady. There were spots where they traded 3 to 5 higher throughout the Southeast and through the Midwest. And there were auctions also in the northern plains and through the Midwest that were compared to 2 weeks ago. And a lot of those auctions were trading 3 to 7 lower. Calves are very uneven this week, called the calf market mostly unevenly steady. In the Southeast, it's unevenly steady to $5 lower. But there were several auctions that kicked off the fall season with some very impressive sales. On Monday, on Labor Day, in Torrington, Wyoming, they held at the Torrington Livestock Commission Company, held their annual Labor Day special, selling right at 7,500 head of mostly yearling feeder cattle. They had a long list of very impressive sales on these top quality feeder cattle. Near 375 head of steers weighing 729 pounds, sold with a weighted average price of $228.69. They sold over 550 head of steers weighing between 900 and 950 pounds that averaged 940 pounds. And they sold with a weighted average price of $197.10. Had 244 head of some big yearling cattle weighing 1,062 pounds, and they sold at $188.60. And then on Wednesday in Kearney, Nebraska at the Husk Platte Valley Livestock Auction, they had about 2,450 head of feeder cattle on auction, also mostly yearlings. They sold over 500 head of yearling steers, averaging 921 pounds, and they sold with a weighted average price of $201.22. Yearling feeder demand remains very good and is noticeably better in the northern half of the country. A lot of feedlots want to secure many of these good yearling cattle to feed as the supplies last. You have a lot of corn belt farmers also looking at large corn crop coming on in that part of the country, and they're also in the mood to purchase these yearling cattle as well. Over the last several weeks, it's been really hard to find any price-friendly news for the cattle complex. Overall, we've seen strong pressure over the last several weeks that's worked its way through the cattle futures and cash prices on feeder cattle and the fed cattle. And this has many buyers being very cautious and before they start finding any good buying support. On Tuesday of this week, we saw strong gains develop in the cattle complex, especially in the feeder cattle futures and fed cattle futures, all trading with sharply triple-digit gains. But the lack of follow-through buying on Wednesday and Thursday still has a lot of traders just in a very cautious mood. We're still seeing some economic headwinds that continue to slow U.S. beef and pork exports. One thing hopefully positive this week, through this Labor Day shortened week, we've seen a lot of good daily livestock slaughter numbers for fed slaughter cattle come in on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all right at 114,000 head. So we're also seeing good packer margins, have decent margins, and hopefully this fed cattle market is close to finding a bottom. As we do this video, we're still waiting for fed cattle prices to develop. But looking at some regional weighted averages this week, in the south central states, 500 to 600 pound steers about $3 lower this week at $232.88. 600-700 pounds about $1 higher at $220.02. 700 to 800 pounds trading about $5 lower at $203.16. And 800 to 900 pound cattle trading at right at steady with last week at $197.12. In the southeast regions, 400 to 500 pound calves averaging about $6 lower than last week at $234.71, and 500 to 600 pounds about $3 lower at $216.22. That's your markets for this week. Thanks for listening. Be back with you next week.